Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Konrad Gorlinski, and this is the news. Well, Poland's President Andrzej Duda officially announced that he's vetoing the controversial media bill that was rushed through the Sejm this month. He shared some Poles' worries about freedom of speech and that signing it into law would strain relations with Warsaw's key ally, the United States. Unexpectedly rushed through Parliament this month, the legislation would have tightened rules around foreign ownership of media, specifically affecting the ability of news channel TVN24, owned by U.S. media company Discovery Inc., to operate. I refuse to sign the amendment to the law on the National Broadcasting Council, and I refer it back to the Sejm, Poland's lower chamber of parliament, for reconsideration. It means I'm vetoing it. Thus, I close the topic. I'm returning this to the Sejm for consideration.
Liczę na to w miarę możliwości ponad podziałami politycznymi.
Poland's ruling Nationalist Law and Justice Peace Party has long said that foreign media groups have too much power in the country and that they distort public debate. Critics say the government's moves against foreign media groups are part of an increasingly authoritarian agenda that has put Warsaw at loggerheads with the European Union. He underlined that a law is necessary, but that he's returning it to the Sejm for review in hopes that they will find a solution which works for all parties, stressing that there is still a need to limit foreign involvement in Poland's media market. Without violating the law, and above all, without unnecessarily disturbing our fellow citizens, and without violating the important principle of pacta sunt servanda. If we have concluded an agreement, and we have concluded an agreement, the Polish-American Treaty on Trade and Economic Relations signed in 1990, we must adhere to it. If we do not keep our agreements, others will not keep their agreements with us. Duda was elected with the support of the ruling nationalists, but his decision to veto the legislation may strain his relations with the party. Yet, it may help Warsaw avoid a row with the United States at a time of heightened tension in Eastern Europe, amid what some countries see as increased Russian assertiveness. And in an interview to Gazeta Polska Codziennie, President Jarosław Kaczyński stated that some countries are not enthusiastic about the prospect of building the fourth German Reich on the foundations of the EU. He was referring to one of the provisions of the coalition agreement between the SPD, the Greens, and the FDP, which provides for the creation of the United States of Europe and amendments to EU treaties. Peace President Jarosław Kaczyński pointed out that the goal of the new German government is to transform the EU into a federation governed by Berlin. According to the Deputy Prime Minister, this means subordination of Poland and depriving Poles of the right to self-determination. There are countries that, to put it mildly, are not enthusiastic about the prospect of building the fourth German Reich on the basis of the EU. The term is not contemptible. It's not about the Third Reich, more so a reference to the First Reich. I believe the term reflects the direction of the decisions being taken now quite well. As I mentioned, the European Tribunal is an essential tool used in this activity. This is a true description of the real situation in Europe. There is a real appearance of an attempt to create this empire, a new nation of a federal Europe under German domination. And here we see a great deal of injustice towards us. That's why we are saying loudly what the real system is, who's really in charge. Of course, since it's the Fourth Reich, we must understand that all the previous ones are elements of history, but only one of them, and namely the third, has nothing in common with the current system, methods, ideology, etc.
Obecne Niemcy nie mają nic wspólnego w sensie systemu politycznego.
In the opinion of Dr. Bartłomiej Biskup, the Deputy Prime Minister used the phrase the Fourth German Reich as a nomenclature for the political concept of strict federalization of the European Union, which would give a sort of a starring role to the Germans as the main executive role in the Union.
Która właśnie dawałaby
which would give a sort of a starring role to the Germans as the main executive role in the Union. And this is just a continuation of the federalist conceptions that now in Europe, I would even say dominate, certainly among the elites in Brussels.
Szczególnie w brukselskich elitach.
Poland is still waiting for approval of its National Reconstruction Plan funds. When implemented, it is to receive approximately 270 billion zloty. Jarosław Kaczyński pointed out that if the European Commission respected the law, the money would have been transferred to Poland long ago. Fortunately, we have a good economic situation. This year was very good in those terms, and the next also promises to be quite optimistic. Poland is getting richer, although many in Europe would prefer it not enrich itself so much. It's about Polish interests. We need these funds, and there's just a question for balance. Do we need these funds as much as we need judiciary reform and the retention of certain offices of the high courts? These are the two priorities. In an interview for Gazeta Polska Codziennie, the head of Law and Justice, Jarosław Kaczyński, emphasized that Poland is and will be a sovereign, independent state that independently decides about its policy. Russia has received a NATO proposal to commence talks on Moscow's security concerns, and Russia is considering it. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has confirmed. If all goes according to plan, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg will convene a meeting of the NATO Russia Council on January 12th, right after the Orthodox holidays. If it does go ahead, it will be the first such meeting in 2 years. The United States and Ukraine say Russia may be preparing an invasion of its ex-Soviet neighbor. Russia denies this and says it is Ukraine's growing relationship with NATO that has caused the standoff to escalate. It has compared it to the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, when the world came to the brink of nuclear war. President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday Russia wanted to avoid conflict, but needed an immediate response from the United States and its allies to its demands for security guarantees. You are demanding some guarantees from me. It is you who must give us the guarantees. You, immediately, now. Moscow has said it expects talks with U.S. officials on the subject to start in January in Geneva. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration has said some of Russia's security proposals are obviously unacceptable, but that Washington will respond with more concrete ideas on the format of any talks. The Kremlin's demands contain elements such as an effective Russian veto on future NATO membership for Ukraine that the West has already ruled out. Others would imply the removal of U.S. nuclear weapons from Europe and the withdrawal of multinational NATO battalions from Poland and from the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania that were once in the Soviet Union. And finally, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Nobel Peace Prize laureate and veteran of South Africa's struggle against white minority rule, has died at the age of 90. The anti-apartheid hero died in a Cape Town nursing home on Sunday, December 26th. The outspoken Tutu was considered the South African nation's conscience by both black and white. No details about the cause of his death have been given. Cape Town City Hall and the Table Mountain, which rises above the city, will be illuminated every night this week in purple, the color of Tutu's clerical robes.
Well, when we thought of an appropriate visual symbol to memorialize and celebrate the life of this remarkable Capetonian, this remarkable human being, Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu, we really had to go with the color that was so synonymous with him, with his tenure as Archbishop, and that is obviously purple.
Tutu was born in October 1931 and ordained an Anglican priest in 1961. He was thrust into the limelight in 1978 when he was appointed Secretary General of the South African Council of Churches. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984 for his nonviolent campaign to win racial equality for his people, and used it as a shield to work beyond the grasp of the white minority government. Tutu continued to preach negotiation and peaceful protest, and as a result made enemies in both camps. Black radicals accused him of compromising with apartheid, while supporters of apartheid saw him as a dangerous revolutionary. In spite of his failing health and undergoing treatment for potentially terminal cancer, Tutu continued in his role as the nation's moral guardian. He regularly criticized the ruling African National Congress, the ANC, and was not averse to attacking Mandela's successors, Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma. When the Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, canceled plans to attend Tutu's 80th birthday celebrations in October 2011 because he was not issued with a visa in time for the visit, a furious Tutu warned President Zuma that one day people would pray for the demise of the ANC. Tutu, who retired from most public duties in October 2010, is still seen as the voice of integrity. The Arch, as he is affectionately known, will be remembered as one of the leading lights of the struggle against apartheid, who was not afraid to condemn injustice wherever he saw it. In his final years, he regretted that his dream of a rainbow nation had yet to come true.
He was the last man standing, and now now that he's gone, I don't know, because the people like him with his beliefs, they are no longer there. So he was, like I said, he really was the last man standing.
And as usual, thanks for tuning in with us this evening. I hope you stick around for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and other programs. But from me, it's have a wonderful evening.